Well, we're back at the Enterprise Marketer Podcast, and this is their second show at Content Marketing World 2016. And I'm here with Jonathan Kranz from Boston. And Boston's one of the places I love. So, Jonathan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for inviting me to speak with you today.
Yeah, it's fun because we got all these lights and like people walk up and like, what are you guys doing here? It's like, well, sit down. Let's talk about it.
Well, for the people who are listening and not watching, we're at a poker table. There are no chips and there's no money on the table, but it is a kind of interesting looking layout with all this AV equipment and green felt.
Yeah,
so I'm down to the felt here, Jeff.
Yeah, we were trying to think, do we go red? Do we go orange? And I'm like, let's just leave it the green original for this show.
Beautiful.
So tell me a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got your start and how you got today.
Okay, great. So I've been a copywriter now for 20 years. I cut my teeth in direct marketing, even starting with catalogs, consumer catalogs.
Wow.
Then moved into traditional direct marketing, mail, letter packages, self-mailers. And I also supplemented that with PR work, articles, ghostwriting for executives. And that proved to be a nice segue. Let's go back to early 2000s and direct marketing response rates start plummeting. You know, when I first started in the business, a 3% response rate was considered, hey, that's great. Then by like 98, 99, it's like, well, if you get a 1.5% response rate, that's great. By 2001, people were boasting about having a 0.75 response rate. And obviously the writing's on the wall and the numbers are just falling through the floor. But that PR and that article writing really served me well. What happened was did a project for a client in which we didn't even call it an ebook at the time, but it was an ebook. And it was about how to do better deals. You know, we were selling a kind of like virtual deal room. And it was a phenomenal success. We did a program in the low 5 figures that produced $1.5 million worth of business. Wow. It was just incredible. And I realized I had stumbled on something that instead of the traditional brochureware and traditional offers, if you could offer something of intrinsic value to your audience, you could earn credibility and their attention. At the time, that didn't have a name for it. It became content marketing. But that's how it started for me. So I easily made the transition from direct marketing, copywriting, into content writing. I'm the author of the book Writing Copy for Dummies. I also published my first novel last year, Our Brothers at the Bottom of the Sea. And in addition to writing, I also offer in-house marketing writing workshops where I'll lead people through exercises based on a custom curriculum that I work out with the client.
Oh, cool. So the Dummies book, how fun was that? Because we've worked with the publisher quite a bit in the past, and I love the Dummies line. I think it's like so underrated for the quality that's in there.
I agree with you. I do think they're really good. You know, for me, it's like the first book to reach to, and I want to learn how to do something. They came up with a brilliant format. For me, it was a Hail Mary pass. I was, thinking about how do I market myself? I'm an independent copywriter, and I thought, I should do a book. And I thought, well, what kind of book? So, well, what's the most famous how-to brand? I said, Dummies. Yeah. So I put together a book proposal, sent it out, heard nothing, and I thought, but then a couple of weeks I heard, we're kind of interested, but we're going to sit on it for a year. And a year passed, and they said, we're going to go. And I think that actually this is a good lesson to share with your audience. After the book came out, I heard from 2 copywriters who are fairly prominent and said, I had pitched them the idea of doing a book about copywriting and got nowhere. And I thought about it. I thought, these guys both had more experience than I had, very credible. Why did I get the book deal and they didn't? And I think it's because in the book proposal itself, I pitched the book as not for copywriters, not for people who want to be professional copywriters per se, but as a book for anyone who has to write copy, write marketing messages, or review them. So it could be anyone from, a manager in a larger enterprise to the owner of a small business who's got to put together postcards, bring them to their pizza place. Mm-hmm. So I pitch it to a much larger, broader audience, and I think that's what ultimately sold it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you got to think way beyond just, competing with the copywriter's handbook or something like that, right?
Exactly. How big is that audience, right? You're talking about a universe of what? Right, a few thousand, but you talk about all the people who have to compose or review messages.
Exactly.
You're in the hundreds of thousands of people now, right?
Yeah, and that's why, like Joe Polizzi's new book, right, Content Inc. It's similar audience, right? How do small business owners who can't afford marketers or can't afford copywriters, how do they get into content marketing? Mm-hmm. So you're here at the show and you're doing a workshop today, right?
I am. I'm doing one in less than an hour from now. Web Writing 201, advanced web writing skills. And then on Friday, they have these industry-specific laboratories here, and I'm doing the one on professional services.
Cool.
Yes.
So 2 workshops. You got 2 half days. That's pretty awesome.
Well, it's the bread around the conference, right? So it's like the sandwich approach. So the heart of the conference is Wednesday, Thursday, and then they have the workshops Tuesday, Friday, and there I am on each side. I'm the white bread here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So what would a person expect from the workshop today?
Well, today, the idea is to go beyond the fundamentals. And first of all, I want to say we never do. The fundamentals always remain so important that we're always perfecting them. That's why they're called fundamentals. But what I decided, my approach is to address the big challenges that those of us who have experience writing for the web face, which is capturing attention, where there's so much content available. What was the other one? Oh, keeping up with the demand for content streams. How do we keep all those tweets and blogs and articles coming? And then the third one is, well, how do we reach people who have short attention span? So I'm addressing. So I have a series of 3 exercises designed to give people some hardcore skills to manage each of those advanced challenges that ultimately all of us who write web copy have to face.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds. Whenever I went back into writing again, because I took kind of a hiatus for a while. And before that, I was writing very deep technical.
Right.
Let's dig into software development and nerd out about these little things. And then whenever I started writing the Agile book, it became completely different voice that had to come out of me.
Right.
It was, but blending the print world and the web world, and I released it all as book to blog, right? So I would write it for the blog, and then I would take it back, and I would have to change it for print,
of course,
because it wasn't the conversation, right? The first time I submitted a chapter to Wiley, it came back with these big red letters. There, the royal we. There is no we.
Wow.
Because I was talking originally, back in the day, it's like conversation. It's like, no, you're not having a conversation. It was like so different to get from print to web.
Right.
And I think your book and the workshop is just critical for a lot of marketers who come out of school and, they may have taken a few courses on composition, but there's a special niche to writing digital content.
Yeah, I think so. And just my wife teaches English at Boston College, and she teaches writing at Boston College. And I think a frequent thing I hear is that, well, young people come out, they're not prepared. But if we're honest about it, we weren't either when we got out. And the truth is, there is no comprehensive writing that's appropriate for every kind of writing situation. Each area has its own unique rhetoric, and there's a rhetoric to marketing just as there's a rhetoric to technical writing. And yeah, it takes time to master them. I think so. It's unreasonable to think that someone's just going to arrive out of college and become expert in whatever that is. Each one is going to have a ramp up period to learn that. Just as I would, if I had to go into academia now and write an academic paper, there would be a learning curve.
So how important do you think it is for developing your writing skills when content types are changing? So like we're recording audio, we've got video, right? It's a conversation we're having, but there's so many pieces of content that could roll out of what we're recording here. How important is writing in that next digital move that we're making?
Almost all of it is still writing. It's still words. Right now we're speaking, right? But if you were to, you say, well, I want to offer this to people using mobile devices, right? And so maybe they'll listen to it. But say you also needed to translate this into something in your blog, you wouldn't just take naked portions of it as a transcript. You would be editing, in essence, really rewriting it, right? So writing's still core, especially if we broaden the definition of writing to think of it as we're storytelling. And if you think about storytelling, then you know that we're still doing that regardless of whether it's print words or whether it's audio or video. It's still storytelling, so the fundamentals there remain relevant.
Cool. So during the Friday workshop, to kind of switch gears, professional services, what are you planning to cover there, and like what's the main takeaway?
Okay. Yeah, professional services are a bear. Because, yes, it's a cliche, but it's true. We're selling the invisible. You're selling expertise, you're selling experience. The purpose, it's 6 hours, and the purpose of that 6 hours is to come up with a workable content marketing plan from scratch to something that you can begin using as soon as you return to your office. So that's the purpose of my workshop. If you go in, You're going to see a whole bunch of worksheets, and then we're going to lead you through all of us together are going to do this for our own organizations. But that's a great segue to something I've been thinking a lot about. And that is, especially in professional services, we spend too much time creating content about the what. This is our methodology, philosophy, mission, secret sauce, etc. Right? This is supposed to make us different from our competition. And I think we oversell that, and we undersell something else, because anyone approaching a professional services firm or an individual consultant has really got one question in their mind. What's it like to work with you? What's that experience going to be like? And if that's true, and I think it is true, then we need to be cognizant when we're creating content to spend more time on the why, like why work with you, and even more importantly, how. That is, what would it be like to work with you? What's the how of the process of working with you? And that means we have to be a little bit more sophisticated with our content, thinking about what all of it says, not just the literal statements, but the look, the feel, the attitude, the voice, the tone. What does that say about you, and what does it say about the way you work with people? Because especially the web, your presence there may be the only access they have to you, and it's virtual. So in a sense, that website and everything on it is a metaphor for what it's like to work with you. So if the content on the website feels imperious, you may think you're coming across as professional, but that might be read as you're aloof and you're distant. I mean, that's just the most obvious example. So you have to be thinking that people are looking for clues about what it's like to work with Jeff, what it's like to work with Jonathan. And be prepared to address that. When we first met, Jeff, we met here earlier today, and we were thinking, one of the things we talked about was, we're under a lot of pressure to show that we're right, right? That we have the answers. And I was thinking just a moment ago about my daughter. She's now 21. She's a junior in college, so she's a grown woman. But when she was a kid, like other kids, she used to put all kinds of stuff on the wall, cutouts, clip outs, art and stuff. And one of the things she had was a phrase that she found somewhere, and it said, "You want to be perfect, ? I'd rather be real." And I thought, wow, actually that's wise. She's on to something.
Yeah.
And I think that that's important for us, especially if we're involved in professional services, is that it's not about projecting this kind of invulnerable perfection. I have all the answers. Come to me. I have them. I think it's more about, are you real? And will you tell the truth? Can you trust I'm going to be truthful with you and not just blow blue smoke in your face?
Yeah.
And if you agree with that, then we have to understand that maybe our content then has to admit of some vulnerability. Mistakes made, lessons learned, real issues, some of the tougher issues, the landmine stuff that's out there, and our willingness to engage with you, a client, a prospect, and be real about that. I think that has tremendous value, and I think that creating content that touches on this difficult stuff has tremendous value.
Imagine a case study that would say, here's the problem, here's, the solution that we originally presented, the timelines, here's what actually happened, here were the good parts and the bad parts and how we handled it.
Wouldn't that be great?
How authentic that would be. And if that scared people away, that's fine,
that is fine.
Because you don't want to have those sticky situations. A lot of people talk about, firing your clients and finding, those clients that don't fit you, but it's like, let's not even get them in the first place.
I agree.
Right? Let's
I
be
totally
honest.
Agree.
And then let's stop if we're older, let's stop presenting ourselves as younger. If we're younger, let's quit trying to be old, because when you come in and you start working with people and it's not who they presented on the web, then all of a sudden you feel like you got scammed.
Yeah, bait and switch. Like, what happened here?
Why does everybody on your website look old and experienced, but then you got these two pups out of college in front of me, right? What do they know about my big problem? So I love that you're talking about and using language that will describe yourself as kind of what it is to experience working with you. So I know when the bad times come, here's what we can expect.
Well, and the thing is, most of my engagements with clients, they go fairly well. It actually is rare when something dramatically bad happens. But in every engagement, there's something that goes not quite to what's expected. And the question is, how is that going to be resolved? I mean, are we going to be people who are going to face it honestly and figure out ways around it and not get flustered? or engage in finger pointing and blame, et cetera, which is unproductive for everybody, right? So you're right. I think that we can use our content to set the tone for what the engagement's going to be like, and I think that is incredibly useful.
Today, real time is the only time that counts. To stay relevant, you have to stay ahead. Your customers want the right information, right now, wherever they are. So how do you meet the demands of today's customers? By marketing in context. Context accounts for a customer's interaction with your brand. So each touch builds on the next, creating more meaningful experiences for your customers. At Sitecore, we call this context marketing. To do it well, you need marketing technology that has three things: contextual intelligence, content management, and omni-channel automation. Contextual intelligence gives you the information you need about your consumers, so the content you manage is more relevant and is automatically delivered wherever your customers are. The Sitecore Experience platform was built for context marketing, so you can create a more personalized customer experience. Demand more from your marketing technology. Demand more from marketing. Own the experience. Sitecore.
Cool. So any parting thoughts for the budding copywriter that's looking to get online and maybe they've, their skills aren't necessarily up to date and they're just a little nervous about it?
I'd say there are two things. One is you can never go wrong putting yourself in the shoes of your reader, or this could be the customer or the prospect. When in doubt, pause. Think about what it would be like to be that person who's actually visiting the website. Why did they come there? What's on their mind? What are their hopes and fears? What do they desire? What are the risks to them that might stop them from engaging you? Think from their point of view. I mean, almost always, 99% of the time, the answers are there. Mm-hmm. They're there. So think less about all the stuff you feel obliged to say. Think much, much, much more about what they need and what they anticipate and how you can meet that or assuage that or comfort them or offer them some hope. So that's number one. And then number two, I would say, storytelling skills are very important. And by storytelling, I don't mean just an anecdote, like an interesting thing. X happened. Mm-hmm. Isn't that curious? A real story has in it someone desiring something. And then there's something in the way, a danger. And this is what we tend to avoid because we don't want to go in the dark. But you have to go in the dark. Mm-hmm. There has to be, in the marketing context, this is, well, if somebody or customer wants X, why don't they already have it? Why isn't it already resolved? Why are they even looking on your website for it? It should be over already. Something's in the way. And you should acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. Acknowledge it. And then you've created drama at that point. And at that point, and only at that point, does it begin to make sense for you to actually talk about your product or service. And you're going to position it as the thing that overcomes that danger or the obstacle and achieves the desired goal. That's how you get relevant. So I would say to beginning copywriters, getting into digital, always remember the point of view of the person arriving and look for opportunities to tell stories.
I love it. Donald Miller he's one of my favorite writers, and he wrote Blue Like Jazz, but he's moving into storytelling and content. What he likes to say is make the audience the hero. Yeah. You're not the hero.
That's right.
And like you talked about the hero's journey and the different conflicts they have and what that's like to come out of it. And look at your website, like what conflict are they facing right now?
Right.
And is this an early conflict or is this like knee deep and has to, they're going to come out of this as something that's completely changed. And you're going to be that instrument to help guide them, to allow them to be the hero.
Absolutely.
And so I love that aspect of storytelling and bringing in, not just saying what's the best words for SEO, what's the best words for
absolutely.
selling, but really how do we drive those two steps?
Yeah, notice that we didn't. You're talking digital, and in the entire conversation, we didn't say a word about SEO. I mean, because in a way, it's beside the point.
Mm-hmm.
It's beside the point. The people, let's just say they got there. What do you have to say to them? How do you engage them? Right.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on
Thank
the show.
you so much. It's been an honor. It's been a delight. I look forward to listening to it myself.
Awesome.
Take care.
Great.
There are so many marketing tools to choose from these days. More than 3,500 the last time we checked. If you're overwhelmed and confused, you're not alone. With so many options, marketers are having a difficult time trying to select which tools will meet their team's unique needs. So why do the top content marketing teams choose DVHQ? It's because of our unique focus. Let me explain. The typical content marketing process looks something like this. You start with a defined strategy, then you ideate and brainstorm with your team. Create a plan of attack, produce the content, optimize it, then publish and promote the content, and finally, review the analytics to see how your content performed. As you may know, most marketing software tools are built to support the back half of this process. There are countless CMS platforms, email marketing tools, marketing automation systems, social publishing tools, analytics suites, etc. The list goes on and on. But here's the thing. The back half of the process is not where companies are really struggling. What marketing teams are really struggling with is the upfront part of the process, the strategy, the ideation, planning, workflow, and collaboration during the content production process. Sound familiar? If you don't get your upfront strategy and planning right, the odds of consistently publishing great content is, well, not very good. So these upfront areas are where we focus 100%. We don't want to reinvent wheels or be a jack of all trades, master of none type of content marketing solution. DVHQ is on a mission to build a content marketing platform that makes it incredibly easy for you to plan and produce high quality content more efficiently. This approach then gives you the freedom to integrate and connect DVHQ to your preferred downstream tools. So, if you're looking for help with strategy, ideation, planning, and collaboration, then we're the solution for you.